In the year 2150, Earth had become a hub for space exploration. Humanity had made contact with many alien species, creating alliances and sometimes rivalries. Among the most powerful species was the Xylac, known for their advanced technology and strong warriors. They were ruled by a wise queen named Alara, who had one beloved daughter named Lyra. Lyra was small and unique, with bright emerald skin and shimmering silver hair that sparkled like the stars. One day, while Queen Alara was attending a peace summit on a distant planet, a band of space pirates attacked, hoping to kidnap her daughter. During the chaos, Lyra was separated from her mother and captured by the pirates. It was a dark day for the Xylac, and the news quickly spread across the galaxy. On Earth, a brave soldier named Jake Thompson was watching the news. He was known for his courage and strong sense of justice. Jake had always admired the Xylac, especially their queen and her daughter. When he heard about Lyra's kidnapping, he felt a surge of determination. He wanted to help. Without any hesitation, he gathered his gear and left for the spaceport. Jake found an old spacecraft and, with his limited knowledge, managed to repair it. He set off into the stars, following the trail of the pirates. After days of searching, he discovered that the pirates had taken Lyra to a hidden base on a rocky moon nearby. As night fell, Jake quietly approached the pirate base. He knew he had to act fast. With stealth and skill, he slipped inside, avoiding the guards. He could hear Lyra's soft cries echoing through the dimly lit hallways. Soon, he found her locked in a dark cell. She was frightened, but her eyes lit up when she saw him. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm Jake. I'm here to rescue you," he replied, smiling warmly. With quick movements, Jake picked the lock on her cell and opened the door. Lyra rushed into his arms, feeling safe for the first time since her capture. "Thank you. I thought I would never be free again," she exclaimed. Jake took her hand, and they hurried through the base. However, as they reached the exit, they were confronted by the pirate leader, a towering figure named Raxor. He glared at them, rage evident on his face. "Stop right there," Raxor yelled, blocking their path. "You think you can escape with the queen's daughter?" Jake stood tall, tightening his grip on his weapon. "I won't let you take her back. Let her go or face the consequences." Raxor laughed, raising his sword. "You're just one human against my entire crew." But Jake had something Raxor didn't: determination. He engaged in a fierce battle with the pirate leader. Jake fought bravely, using his training to outmaneuver Raxor. As their fight intensified, the ship shook from the struggle, causing alarms to blare. Lyra watched in awe as Jake fought valiantly. Finally, with a swift move, Jake disarmed Raxor and knocked him to the ground. Breathing heavily, Jake turned to Lyra. "We have to go now." They dashed through the hallways, hearing the sounds of chaos behind them. Pirates were shouting and running, confused by the sudden attack. Finally, they burst into the open air and headed for Jake's ship. However, as they boarded, Jake sensed danger. He quickly activated the ship's systems and took off into space just as the pirates regrouped to pursue them. "Thank you for saving me," Lyra said as the stars whizzed past. As they flew away from the moon, Jake suddenly saw a ship approaching them. It was sleek and imposing. Lyra's jaw dropped. "That's my mother's ship," she said excitedly. Within moments, Queen Alara's ship hailed them. "Lyra, are you safe?" Her mother's voice came through the communicator, filled with worry. "I'm here, Mother. I'm with a human soldier," Lyra replied. "Jake, is it?" The Queen's voice softened. "Thank you for saving my daughter. Your bravery is commendable." Jake blushed slightly, feeling overwhelmed by the Queen's praise. "It was nothing, Your Majesty. I just did what I had to do." Once on board the royal ship, Queen Alara welcomed them warmly. The crew surrounded Lyra, thankful she was safe. After a brief celebration, Alara sat down with Jake to discuss what had happened. "Your actions were heroic, human," Alara said, her eyes serious. I wish to offer you a reward. You have proven yourself worthy of Zylac respect. Jake was surprised. I didn't rescue Lyra for a reward, Your Majesty. Ilara continued. Then perhaps you will accept this offer out of friendship. We wish to form an alliance with Earth, with you as our ambassador. Jake's heart raced. An ambassador? This was more than he had ever dreamed of. He looked at Lyra, who smiled at him. You would make a great ambassador, she said, her eyes shining. I accept, Jake replied, grinning. I will do my best to bring our worlds closer together. Queen Ilara nodded, proud of his decision. Together, we can help our peoples understand each other and thrive side by side. As the royal ship raced through the stars, Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. He had not only rescued a princess, but had also forged a new future for Earth and the Zylac. With the support of a queen and the friendship of a brave little girl, he knew this was just the beginning of a grand adventure. And so, the bond between humans and Zylac grew stronger, all sparked by one human soldier's act of bravery. Jake hoped for peace in the universe, knowing he played a crucial part in that dream coming true. The battlefield was a symphony of destruction. Sergeant Major Alex Ryder, a veteran of the Terran Coalition, crouched behind a shattered plasteel barricade, the acrid scent of plasma burns filling his nostrils. Around him, the remnants of his squad exchanged fire with the Krill, insectoid warriors who were as relentless as they were hideous. Ryder, we're pinned down! Krill Queen's Guard incoming! Corporal Miller yelled over the din, his voice tight with fear. Alex peeked over the barricade. A squad of Krill warriors, twice the size of the regular drones and clad in obsidian armor, advanced, their plasma rifles spitting emerald death. He knew what Krill Queen's Guard meant. Somewhere nearby was the Krill Queen herself, the Hive's supreme leader. They were high-value targets. Taking her out could cripple the entire Krill army. Hold the line, Alex roared, hefting his pulse. Rifle, for Earth! The battle raged on, a desperate dance of survival. Alex fought with the cold efficiency of a seasoned warrior, his every shot precise, every movement calculated. But the Krill were overwhelming. One by one, his squad fell, until only he and Miller remained. We can't hold them, Ryder. Miller screamed, clutching a bleeding arm. We need to fall back. Negative. Alex grunted, firing a burst of plasma that vaporized a Krill warrior. If we fall back, they'll overrun the position. We hold here. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A colossal figure emerged from the Krill ranks, towering over the battlefield. It was the Krill Queen, a grotesque monstrosity of chitin and muscle, her eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. But what caught Alex's attention wasn't the Queen herself, but the small, fragile creature she held in one of her massive claws. It was a Krill child, a larva, its chitin still soft and unformed. It looked vulnerable, lost, and utterly terrified. The Queen, despite her fearsome appearance, seemed protective of the little one, shielding it from the crossfire. A stray plasma bolt struck the Queen's armor, throwing her off balance. She stumbled, and the larva slipped from her grasp, falling towards the debris-strewn ground. Without thinking, Alex reacted. He leaped from behind the barricade, ignoring the hail of plasma fire, and scooped up the larva before it could hit the ground. He cradled it in his arms, shielding it with his body. The Krill, both friend and foe, ceased firing, stunned by his action. The Queen stared at him, her multifaceted eyes wide with surprise. Why? She boomed, her voice a guttural rasp that echoed across the battlefield. Why did you save my offspring, human? Alex met her gaze, his heart pounding in his chest. Because it was helpless, he said simply. Because it didn't deserve to die. The Queen remained silent for a long moment, her gaze boring into him. Then, to his astonishment, she lowered her head. You have shown me a kindness I did not expect from your species, human, she said. A kindness that has not been shown to my kind for a long time. You saved my heir, the future of my hive. I am in your debt." Alex didn't know what to say. He had expected to be vaporized, not thanked. "I offer you a bargain, human," the Queen continued. "Return my offspring to me, and I will grant you safe passage from this battlefield. Furthermore, I will offer you something more. Something that no human has ever received." Alex hesitated. He glanced down at the larva in his arms, then back at the Queen. He knew he should kill her. It would be a big win in the war, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He made his decision. "I accept your offer," he said, stepping forward. The krill warriors parted, allowing him to approach the Queen. He gently placed the larva back in her grasp. The Queen nuzzled the little one, then turned back to Alex. "You have earned my respect, human," she said. "Now, name your reward." Alex thought for a moment. He could ask for weapons, for technology, for anything that could help the war effort. But something else was on his mind. "I want to know why," he said. "Why are you fighting us? What do you want?" The Queen sighed, a sound like grinding chitin. "We fight for survival, human. Your species expands, consumes. You take our resources, our worlds. We strike back to protect what is ours." Alex listened intently, realizing that the war wasn't as simple as he thought. There were no heroes or villains, just two species struggling for survival. "I understand," he said. "But there has to be another way. We can't keep fighting each other forever." The Queen considered his words. "Perhaps you are right, human. Perhaps there is another way. But it will not be easy. There are those on both sides who crave only war." "Then we have to convince them otherwise," Alex said, his voice filled with determination. "We have to find a way to live together." The Queen nodded slowly. "I will consider your words, human. In the meantime, I offer you this." She extended a claw towards him, revealing a small pulsating orb. "This is a krill artifact, a device that can heal any wound, cure any disease. It is a gift of life, a symbol of hope. Take it, human. Use it well." Alex took the orb, feeling its strange energy coursing through his veins. He knew that this was more than just a gift. It was a sign, a symbol of a possible future. A future where humans and krill could coexist. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I won't let you down." The Queen nodded, then turned and led her warriors away, leaving Alex standing alone on the battlefield. He looked around at the carnage, the dead bodies, the shattered debris. It was a scene of utter destruction, but amidst the chaos, a seed of hope had been planted. He turned to Miller, who was staring at him with disbelief. "Did that just happen?" he asked. Alex nodded. "Yeah, it did. What do we do now?" Alex looked towards the horizon, his eyes filled with determination. "Now," he said, "we go home, and we start building a better future. A future where humans and krill can live in peace." In a galaxy far away, on a planet called Zephyra, there lived a powerful alien queen named Ilara. Her people were known for their shimmering skin, which glowed in shades of blue and green, and their ability to communicate with nature. They were peaceful beings, but a dark force threatened their world, a group of marauders known as the Iron Claw. One day, while Queen Ilara was attending to her royal duties, the Iron Claw attacked. They stole her little girl, Leora, who was only 5 years old. Ilara, heartbroken and desperate, sent out a call across the stars, seeking help from anyone who would listen. Meanwhile, on the planet Earth, a soldier named John Reynolds was preparing for his next mission. He was a brave man, always willing to help those in need. When John received the message from Queen Ilara, he felt a surge of determination. He geared up and boarded his spaceship, ready to help rescue the little girl. After a long journey through the stars, he arrived at Zephyra. The planet was beautiful, with vast forests and sparkling rivers, but darkness loomed as the smoke from Ironclaw's camps hung in the air. John knew he had to find Leora quickly. He used his training to scout the area, moving silently through the trees and keeping his eyes open for any sign of the marauders. After hours of searching, he finally spotted their camp. The Ironclaw were tough warriors, but John was prepared. He quietly snuck into the camp, his heart racing, and found himself face to face with a group of soldiers guarding a tent. With swift moves, he took them down one by one, careful not to make a sound. As he approached the tent, he heard a soft whimpering inside. It was Leora. He opened the tent flap and found her tied up but unharmed. Her big round eyes filled with tears when she saw him. "Don't worry, sweet girl. I'm here to take you home," John said, smiling gently as he untied her. Together, they moved cautiously out of the tent. But just as they were about to escape, a loud alarm went off. The Ironclaw had discovered John's presence. "Run!" he shouted to Leora, and they darted into the forest. John's heart pounded as they sprinted away, the sounds of the Ironclaw shouting behind them. He led Leora on a winding path through the trees, using every bit of his training to evade the marauders. Finally, they reached a cliff overlooking a sparkling river. John knew they had to cross it to escape. "Hold on tight," he instructed Leora as he scooped her up in his arms. They jumped into the water together. The current was strong, but John was determined. He swam with all his might, pushing through the current until they finally reached the other side. Panting and exhausted, they crawled up onto the riverbank. John looked back to see the Ironclaw standing on the opposite side, furious, but they knew they could not chase them through the water. "Thank you, mister," Leora said, her voice shaking. "You saved me." John smiled, feeling relieved. "You're safe now," he assured her. But suddenly, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. They had to keep moving. With Leora holding onto him tightly, they fled deeper into the forest. After hiding for hours, they stumbled upon an ancient temple, overgrown with vines. John led Leora inside, and they found a small, hidden chamber. They took a moment to catch their breaths. "What if they find us?" Leora asked, her eyes wide with fear. "They won't," John replied, trying to sound confident. "I'll protect you." He thought about how he could find their way back to safety. They waited quietly, and soon the sounds of the marauders faded away. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the temple. "You have done a great deed, human soldier." It was Queen Alara. She emerged from the shadows, her presence commanding yet gentle. John felt awe as he realized the queen had come to them. "Your Majesty, I rescued Leora as you asked," he said, bowing his head slightly. Queen Alara knelt down beside Leora, stroking her hair softly. "My brave little girl," she whispered. Then she turned to John, gratitude shining in her eyes. "You saved my daughter. What can I do to repay you?" John felt a mix of emotions. "I just did what was right. I couldn't let her." "Stay with them," he replied humbly. But Alara smiled, revealing a deep understanding. "You risked your life for my child. My people and I owe you our gratitude. I want to offer you a chance to join our alliance." John's heart raced. "What does that mean?" Alara explained, "By joining us, you will be a protector, a bridge between your world and ours. You will have the power to help not only my people, but also ensure peace throughout our worlds." John's mind whirled with possibilities. This was an incredible offer. He could learn more about the galaxies, protect those in need, and gain knowledge beyond his imagination. Yet, he hesitated. "But what about Earth?" he asked. Alara nodded, understanding his concern. "Your home will always be yours, but you will have the chance to return. You can be a hero on both worlds." Leora looked at John with hopeful eyes. Will you stay, mister? I want to learn more about you. You're my hero, she said, her voice innocent and sweet. John knew he could not let them down. He looked back at Queen Alara, seeing her strength and determination. He took a deep breath. Okay, I'll join your alliance, he declared, feeling a newfound purpose. Queen Alara smiled warmly. Welcome, brave soldier. Together, we will safeguard peace in our worlds. With that decision, John felt the weight of his choice settle in. He had not only rescued a little girl, but had also opened a gateway to a future filled with adventure and purpose. And as they stepped out of the temple side by side, John knew this was just the beginning of their extraordinary journey together. The acrid smell of burning metal filled Sergeant Major Thomas Carter's nostrils. Debris rained down around him, each impact a jarring reminder of the brutal battle raging on the desolate planet of Xylos. Humans and the insectoid krill, locked in a war for dominance, were tearing the landscape apart. Thomas, a veteran of countless campaigns, knew the odds were stacked against them. Krill warriors were relentless, their chitinous bodies resistant to conventional weaponry, their numbers seemingly endless. He huddled behind a ruined transport vehicle, his pulse rifle hot in his hands. His squad was gone, casualties of a krill ambush an hour ago. Now he was alone, a single soldier against an alien horde. He risked a peek over the vehicle's mangled frame. Krill soldiers swarmed towards his position, their multifaceted eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. He gritted his teeth, preparing for a desperate last stand. Suddenly, a piercing shriek cut through the cacophony of war. It wasn't the battle cry of a krill warrior, it was higher-pitched, more vulnerable. The krill soldiers hesitated, their advance faltering. Thomas, seizing the opportunity, unleashed a volley of fire, dropping several of the aliens before they could react. Curiosity overriding caution, he followed the sound of the shriek. It led him to a crater, the result of a recent artillery strike. At the bottom, amidst the smoldering wreckage, he saw it. A small krill, no bigger than a human child, was trapped beneath a piece of twisted metal. Its delicate limbs, not yet hardened into the armored plates of an adult, were pinned. The shriek was coming from it, a cry of pain and terror. Thomas paused. This was the enemy. These creatures had slaughtered his comrades, destroyed entire colonies. He should leave it to die. But something stopped him. He saw the fear in its large, innocent eyes, the desperate struggle to free itself. It was just a child, caught in the crossfire of a war it didn't understand. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and jumped into the crater. The heat was intense, the air thick with smoke. Ignoring the pain, he heaved against the metal slab, his muscles screaming in protest. Finally, with a groan of tortured metal, the debris shifted. He pulled the small krill free. It looked at him, its large eyes wide with confusion. It didn't attack, didn't try to flee. It simply stared as if trying to understand why a human soldier, its sworn enemy, had just saved its life. He examined the creature. One of its legs was badly twisted, likely broken. He reached into his medic kit and pulled out a field dressing. He knew it was a long shot. That human medicine probably wouldn't work on a krill, but he couldn't just leave it like that. He gently wrapped the injured leg. As he worked, the small krill made a series of soft clicking sounds, seemingly trying to communicate. Thomas didn't understand the language, but he recognized the tone. Gratitude. Suddenly the ground trembled. The krill soldiers, who had been momentarily stunned by the shriek, were returning. Thomas knew he had to get out of there. He scooped up the small krill and scrambled out of the crater, seeking cover behind a nearby rock formation. He expected the krill soldiers to attack. Instead, they stopped, forming a perimeter around him. They were silent, unmoving, their weapons lowered. Then a figure emerged from their ranks. It was larger than the other krill, its chitinous armor more ornate, its presence radiating authority. It was a krill queen. Thomas's heart pounded in his chest. He had heard stories about the krill queens, the powerful matriarchs who controlled their hives with ruthless efficiency. He had never seen one in person. He raised his rifle, ready to fight to the death. The queen approached him slowly, her multifaceted eyes fixed on him. She stopped a few feet away, and then, to Thomas's astonishment, she spoke. Her voice was a series of clicks and hisses, translated into perfect English by a device on her carapace. "Human," she said, her voice resonating with power. "You have saved my daughter." Thomas lowered his rifle slightly, disbelief warring with cautious hope. "Your daughter?" The queen nodded, her antennae twitching. "The small one is larva of my brood. She was lost during the orbital drop." Thomas looked down at the small krill in his arms. It nuzzled against him, its fragile limbs trembling. He suddenly understood the krill soldiers' hesitation, their unwillingness to fire upon him. They were protecting their queen's offspring. "I didn't know," Thomas said, his voice barely a whisper. She was hurt. The queen studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "You are a strange creature, human. You fight us with ferocity, yet you show compassion to our young." Then she made an offer that shocked Thomas to his core. "You have saved my daughter's life. I am in your debt. I offer you safe passage off this world. I will personally escort you to your extraction point. Furthermore, I will grant you one request within my power to fulfill." Thomas was stunned. An offer of safe passage was already incredible, but a wish? What could he possibly ask for? He thought of his fallen comrades, the devastation of the war, the countless lives, lost on both sides. "I don't want anything for myself," he said finally. "But if you truly want to repay me, then end this war. Negotiate a peace treaty with humanity. Stop the bloodshed." The queen was silent for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice tinged with something that sounded almost like respect. "That is a difficult request, human, but I will consider it. I make no promises, but I will bring it before the Hive Council." She gestured to her soldiers. "Lower your weapons. Escort the human to his extraction point. Ensure his safety." Thomas, still carrying the small krill, was escorted by the krill soldiers through the battlefield. He couldn't believe what was happening. He, a human soldier, was being escorted to safety by the enemy, all because he had saved the life of their queen's daughter. As he reached the extraction point, a human dropship descended from the sky. He handed the small krill back to its mother, a strange pang of sadness in his heart. He had only known it for a short time, but he had formed a bond with the creature, a bond forged in the crucible of war. He boarded the dropship, turning back to look at the krill queen one last time. She stood there, watching him, her multifaceted eyes gleaming in the dying light. He knew that the fate of the war, the fate of humanity, might very well rest on her decision. As the dropship ascended, leaving the ravaged landscape of Xylos behind, Thomas Carter couldn't help but wonder if he had just changed the course of history. He had saved an alien child, and in return, he had been given a chance to save his own people. Whether that chance would bear fruit, only time would tell. He leaned back in his seat, exhausted but hopeful, a single human soldier who had, perhaps, made a difference in a galaxy torn apart by war. The weight of the galaxy now rested on the shoulders of an alien queen, and the decision she would make. In a distant galaxy, on a planet called Zolara, there was a fierce war between humans and a race of aliens known as the Zephyrians. The Zephyrians had shimmering green skin and large, expressive eyes. They were known for their advanced technology and powerful abilities. Among them was Queen Kaelora, a wise and respected leader. She had a little girl named Lyra, who was cherished by all. One fateful day, a battle broke out near the Queen's palace. The humans launched a surprise attack, hoping to end the war. Amidst the chaos, Lyra was separated from her mother. As she ran through the palace, her small heart raced with fear. Soldiers, both human and Zephyrian, clashed around her, and she felt lost and alone. At the same time, a brave human soldier named Alex was part of the attacking force. He was trained for combat, but deep down, he wanted peace. As he heard the sounds of war, he saw Lyra, hiding behind a large column, tears streaming down her face. Despite the danger, something compelled him to save her. "Hey, it's okay," Alex whispered, crouching down to her level. "I'm here to help you." Lyra looked up at him with wide eyes. She didn't understand why a human soldier would help her. "My mother," she cried. "I'll take you to her," he promised. He quickly glanced around, keeping an eye on the fighting. "But you have to trust me." Lyra nodded, and together they ran. They darted through the palace halls, dodging laser fires and explosions. Alex could feel the fear radiating from the little girl. He held her hand tightly as they navigated the war-torn palace. After what felt like an eternity, they made it to a hidden chamber. Alex breathed a sigh of relief. Lyra looked up at him, her gaze filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly, her small voice shaking. Before Alex could reply, the ground shook. The human forces pushed further into the palace, and he knew he had to move quickly. "This way," he urged, and led her down a secret passage he had found during training. It was dark, but he held Lyra's hand and reassured her. As they emerged from the other side, they found themselves outside the palace, where chaos still erupted in the streets. Alex spotted a group of human soldiers not far away. "We need to get you to safety," he said. But Lyra stopped him. "I can't leave without my mother. She's still in there." Alex hesitated. He knew it was dangerous, but he couldn't leave her. "Okay, then let's go together." They sneaked back into the palace amidst the sounds of clashing weapons. Lyra guided Alex through winding corridors, trying to remember the way to her mother's throne room. Finally, they made it to a large door, but it was locked. "The guards," Lyra whispered. With quick thinking, Alex looked around and found a heavy piece of metal on the ground. He used it to break the lock. The door creaked open, revealing the room inside. To his horror, Alex saw Queen Kalora surrounded by human soldiers, looking frightened but fierce. "Get away from her," Alex shouted, stepping forward with Lyra at his side. "Alex!" Kalora exclaimed, recognizing him. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," he replied, keeping his eyes on the soldiers. Suddenly, a shot rang out. Alex pushed Lyra behind him, taking the blow. Himself. He fell to the ground, pain searing through him. Lyra gasped, running to his side. "No! Please, don't leave me!" she cried. The soldiers hesitated, unsure how to react to the scene unfolding before them. Kalora saw her daughter crying and took advantage of the moment of distraction. She raised her voice and commanded, "You will let them go. She is the key to peace between our races." Lyra looked at her mother with hope, and Alex felt a surge of strength from her tiny hand holding his. He stood up, fighting through the pain and the sudden blurriness in front of his eyes. "We can still end this war," he shouted, his voice steady. Kalora, seeing the determination in Alex's eyes, nodded slowly. She turned to her soldiers. "Stand down. We will speak." The tension in the room eased slightly. The human soldiers backed away, confused but willing. Queen Kalora approached Alex, still holding Lyra. "You saved my daughter," she said, her voice low but firm. "That takes great courage." "I couldn't let her be alone," Alex replied, still catching his breath. In that moment, Kalora made a surprising offer. "You have shown bravery and compassion, qualities I admire. Will you join me in forging a new path between our peoples? Alex was taken aback. You mean work together? Yes, Kaelora said. You saved Lyra, and in doing so, you've shown that peace is possible. We can end this war, Alex, but it will take trust on both sides. Lyra looked between her mother and Alex, hope lighting her eyes. She squeezed Alex's hand tighter, as if her small gesture could seal the deal. Please, let's make a better world. After a moment of silence, feeling the weight of their choices, Alex nodded. I will help, he replied. It's time for a new beginning. The Queen smiled, and a sense of relief washed over everyone in the room. From that day on, Alex worked alongside Queen Kaelora to bring peace between humans and Zephyrians. It wasn't easy, but together they created alliances, shared resources, and learned from each other. Lyra played a special role, teaching the humans about her culture, while Alex showed the Zephyrians that kindness could overcome fear. And so, the little girl, the brave soldier, and the wise queen changed the course of history, paving the way for a brighter future, a future where both races could thrive together in harmony. Sergeant Major Thomas "Tommy" Baker wasn't supposed to be here. He was a soldier, a grunt, a cog in the war machine, not a babysitter. But here he was, knee-deep in the purple muck of Xylos, clutching a sobbing, six-legged alien child to his chest. The war between Earth and the Krill had been raging for 5 years. The Krill, insectoid aliens with a rigid caste system, were relentless. They craved resources, and Earth had them. Tommy had seen things no human should see, lost friends in the cold vacuum of space, and fought on planets that defied human comprehension. Xylos was just another notch on his rifle, another alien hellhole. His squad had been tasked with scouting ahead of the main force, securing a landing zone near what intelligence believed to be a Krill hatchery. They moved silently through the alien jungle, the air thick with the cloying scent of decaying vegetation. That's when they heard it, a high-pitched wail, a sound of pure distress. What the hell was that? Corporal Ramirez whispered, his hand hovering over his pulse rifle. Tommy signaled for silence. He moved forward cautiously, his senses on high alert. The wailing grew louder, leading him to a small clearing. There, amidst the twisted roots of a giant bioluminescent tree, was the source of the noise. A young krill, no bigger than a human toddler, its chitinous exoskeleton shimmering with an iridescent sheen. It was trapped beneath a fallen branch, its delicate limbs flailing in panic. It's just a kid, Ramirez said, his voice laced with surprise. A krill kid, Sergeant Miller corrected, his tone hard. Remember why we're here. The other members of the squad raised their weapons, their faces grim. Tommy knew what they were thinking. Krill were krill, regardless of age. They were the enemy, and every krill life was a potential threat. But Tommy couldn't bring himself to shoot. He saw the fear in the child's large, multifaceted eyes, the desperate struggle for survival. It reminded him of his own daughter. Back on Earth, hold your fire, Tommy ordered, his voice firm. I'm going to help it. Are you crazy, Sergeant? Miller protested. That thing could be bait. It could be carrying some kind of bioweapon. Tommy ignored him. He carefully approached the trapped krill, speaking in a soothing voice. Easy, little one. I'm not going to hurt you. The child stopped wailing and looked at him with cautious curiosity. Tommy gently lifted the branch, freeing its legs. The krill scrambled back, its eyes fixed on him. Tommy expected it to attack, to call for reinforcements. Instead, it just stood there, trembling. It's okay, Tommy said, extending a hand. You're safe now. To his surprise, the krill crept forward and touched his hand with one of its antennae. It felt soft, fragile. Then it did something even more unexpected. It climbed into his arms and clung to him, sobbing uncontrollably. Tommy was stunned. He looked back at his squad, their faces a mixture of disbelief and apprehension. "I think it's lost," he said, feeling a pang of sympathy for the alien child. "What do we do now?" Ramirez asked. "We take it with us," Tommy decided. "We can't just leave it here." The squad reluctantly agreed. They knew it was a risky move, but they trusted Tommy's judgment. They continued their mission, the krill child nestled securely in Tommy's arms. It remained surprisingly quiet, occasionally nuzzling against him. They secured the landing zone without further incident. As the transport ship arrived, Tommy handed the krill child over to a medic. "Take care of her," he said. "She's just a kid." Back on the ship, Tommy couldn't shake the image of the krill child from his mind. He knew he had done the right thing, but he also knew that his actions would likely be met with disapproval from his superiors. He was wrong. The next day, Tommy was summoned to the captain's office. He stood at attention, bracing himself for a reprimand. Instead, he was greeted by a grim-faced officer who informed him that he was to be transferred to a secure location. "What's this about, sir?" Tommy asked, confused. "You rescued the Krill Queen's daughter," the officer said, his voice flat. "She wants to meet you." Tommy was speechless. The Krill Queen? The supreme commander of the entire Krill war machine? Why would she want to meet him? He soon found out. He was taken to a heavily guarded facility where he was prepped for a meeting with the Queen. He was given a translator device and instructed on proper Krill etiquette. He felt like he was walking into the unknown. The meeting took place in a large, sterile chamber. The Krill Queen was an imposing figure, much larger than the average Krill soldier. Her exoskeleton was a deep, iridescent black, and her eyes glowed with an eerie intelligence. "Human," she said, her voice translated into his ear. "You saved my daughter." "It was the right thing to do," Tommy replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "You showed compassion where others would have shown only hatred," the Queen said. "You have earned my gratitude." Tommy didn't know what to say. He had expected anger, hostility, perhaps even death, but not gratitude. "I am in your debt," the Queen continued. "Name your price. What do you desire?" Tommy thought for a moment. He could ask for an end to the war, for the Krill to withdraw from Earth. But he knew that was unlikely. The Krill were driven by a need for resources, and they wouldn't simply give up. Then, he thought of his daughter, back on Earth. He thought of the fear and uncertainty she must be feeling, knowing that her father was fighting in a war against an implacable enemy. "I want my daughter to be safe," Tommy said. "I want her to know that her father did everything he could to protect her." The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "I cannot end the war, but I can offer you something else. I can offer you a place among us, a place of honor, a place where your daughter will be safe and where she will never want for anything." Tommy was stunned. The Krill Queen was offering him a new life, a life among the enemy. It was an unimaginable offer, a betrayal of everything he had ever known. But he looked into the Queen's eyes and saw a glimmer of sincerity. He saw a mother's love, a desire to protect her child, and he knew that he couldn't refuse. "I accept," Tommy said, his voice barely a whisper. The Queen nodded. "Then you are welcome among the Krill. You will be known as Tommy Baker, the protector of the young, and your daughter will be safe." Tommy Baker, the human soldier, had rescued the alien Queen's little girl, and in return, he had received an offer that would change his life forever. A shocking offer that blurred the lines between enemy and ally, between war and peace. He had become a bridge between two worlds, a testament to the power of compassion in a universe consumed by conflict. His journey had just begun.